The night whispered to me about you before you ever arrived. Long before your name lived on my lips, you were a gentle ache in my chest, a longing I could not name. I would walk beneath the stars and feel something missing, like the moon had forgotten its light, or the ocean its tide. Then you appeared, not as a thunderstorm, but as a hush. You didn't disrupt, you aligned. You became the reason silence felt full, and solitude turned to serenity. In your presence, I found a melody in the quiet, a warmth in the chill of night. There was a cadence in our gaze, an unspoken language in the way your eyes held mine. It wasn't immediate fireworks, it was a slow-burning lantern, carried carefully through corridors of time. That's how I knew you were real. Not by how loud you entered, but by how gently you filled every emptiness I'd ever known. With you, even the shadows dared to dream, and the moon seemed to shine a little softer, as if it knew it no longer stood alone. I remember the first time you laughed, and how the air itself seemed to lean in just to listen. The sound lingered like the scent of jasmine in summer, soft but intoxicating, caught somewhere between memory and miracle. It echoed in the chambers of my mind, long after the moment passed. You had a way of looking at the world that made even the ordinary feel cinematic. A cup of tea became a ritual, a walk through the park a symphony. You were a still frame in a world that wouldn't stop spinning. And I, ever the wanderer, finally found a reason to stand still. You never tried to fix me, never painted over my cracks. You traced them, read them like Braille, and kissed the places that used to ache. You saw the girl who used to hide behind stories and daydreams, and brought her gently into the light. In every word, every glance, every unspoken touch, I learned that love didn't have to be loud to be real. It could arrive like moonlight and still light up the whole world. There were nights we didn't speak, and still I heard everything you meant. The space between our breaths carried more meaning than 1,000 declarations. I never needed a script with you. Our silences were fluent. We'd sit in quiet corners of the world, our fingers entwined like ivy, hearts beating in their own dialogue. I learned the rhythm of your moods, the tempo of your thoughts. I knew when your mind wandered, and where it often went. You didn't always need to be strong. You let me see your storms, and trusted I wouldn't run. And I didn't. I stood beside you like the tide that returns to kiss the shore, again and again, no matter how far it's pulled away. I loved the man you were when no one was looking. The quiet hero, the dreamer, the broken boy still trying. I didn't need perfection. I only needed truth. And in the sanctuary of your truth, I built a home. There, between your hopes and your hurt, I found the moonlight between us, soft, sure, and eternal. Time didn't scare me with you. I stopped counting moments because every second felt infinite. The world could unravel and rebuild itself around us, and I'd still be here, tracing the constellations in your freckles and the lullabies in your smile. We spoke of futures like they were sunrises waiting to be claimed, never forced, always hoped. And on the days life felt like a battlefield, you were my white flag and my armor all at once. Your embrace was not an escape from the world, but a return to what was real. We were not perfect. We stumbled, misstepped, and sometimes forgot how to dance, but we always found the rhythm again. You made me believe in do-overs, in second chances, in the beauty of staying. And though the days grew longer, and shadows sometimes loomed, we never stopped finding light. Because we learned that the moon doesn't fight the darkness, it simply shines. And so did we, quietly, bravely, together. Beneath every season's change, we remained, two souls held together by a gravity deeper than explanation. There is a kind of magic in knowing someone so well, that their presence becomes your compass. I could feel you before I saw you, like warmth before fire, or music before sound. You carried stories in your eyes that you hadn't yet told me, but somehow I already understood. We were pages of the same novel, written years apart, finally brought together by the hand of fate. I never needed you to be the sun. I had learned to dance in the dark, but you were the moon, the one who taught me how to find beauty in shadows. You never asked me to shrink, never dimmed my shine. You celebrated the sparks in me even when the world tried to snuff them out. And when I faltered, you stood behind me, not to catch me, but to remind me I could fly. You were never the destination. You were the journey made beautiful. With you, love was never a cage, it was a sky. And every time I looked at you, I knew I had found my freedom. Some days I wake and still forget how lucky I am. I forget that not everyone finds a love like this, one that doesn't demand, but invites, one that doesn't possess, but protects. You never needed to promise me forever. You gave me the kind of now that made time irrelevant. There's a gentleness in your presence, the kind that turns chaos into calm. I could fall apart in your arms and still feel whole. I never knew love could be so quiet, and still echo so loudly through every part of me. You brought peace to wars I fought alone, for years. The kind of peace that doesn't silence the pain, but holds it tenderly. And maybe that's what makes it sacred. Not the grand gestures, or fireworks, but the way you show up on the small days, the ordinary mornings, the way your hand finds mine under the dinner table, the way your eyes soften when they meet mine across a crowded room, the way you exist and make existing so much more than survival. I still remember the first time your fingers brushed mine, how something so simple could feel like a revelation. Electricity without the storm, fire without the burn, just connection, pure and certain. And from that moment, everything else made sense. The poems I'd read, the songs I'd heard, they all found meaning in you. You were not what I was looking for, you were what I didn't know I needed. A lighthouse I didn't realize I'd been swimming toward all along. You anchored me without holding me down. You let me be messy, loud, quiet, wild, whatever I needed to be, and you met me there without flinching. You didn't fall in love with the best version of me. You stayed when I was least lovable. And somehow in your eyes, even then I was enough. With you, love didn't feel like a battlefield or a puzzle. It felt like home. A home built of laughter and forgiveness, of midnight talks and morning coffees, of moonlight moments that stretch endlessly across our forever. There is something eternal in the way you say my name, like it's not just a sound, but a story. Every time you remind me of who I am when I forget. You speak to the parts of me that I keep hidden, and you do so with kindness, never judgment. With you, my walls never had to fall, they dissolved. You didn't tear me down to reach me. You waited patiently at the gate, until I opened it myself. That's what love is, isn't it? Not loud declarations or grand displays, but presence. Being there when it's hard, holding on when it's messy. Choosing each other over and over, even on the days we don't feel worthy. And in all of this, in the quiet and the chaos, the mundane and the magical, I've found the most honest kind of love. Not the one in fairy tales, but the one that survives the chapters in between. The one that glows in the dark, the one that lives in the moonlight between us, where nothing is perfect, but everything is real. You once told me that love is not about never breaking, but about always choosing to rebuild, and I've carried that with me, like a prayer. Because we've broken, haven't we? In small ways, in big ones. We've lost our way, lost our tempers, lost the softness for a moment, but never the love. We always found our way back, not because it was easy, but because we knew it was worth it. And every time we came back stronger, softer, wiser. There's beauty in the rebuilding, in the effort, in the quiet promises made without words. You showed me that love isn't perfect, it's persistent. And through all of it, the cracks, the healing, the laughter, the tears, I've never stopped choosing you. Not once, not for a second. And I never will. Because when I look at you, I see more than a partner. I see a mirror, a muse, a memory still being written. I see the moonlight between us, unwavering, a glow that no night can extinguish, no storm can chase away. If this is the only lifetime I get with you, I will still consider myself the luckiest soul to have ever loved. But somewhere deep inside me, I believe we've done this before. That in some other time, some other life, we found each other, and whispered the same promises, under different stars. There's a familiarity to you that time can't touch, like an old song remembered in a dream. And maybe that's why goodbye never feels permanent with you. It's always just a pause, never an end. Because you live in every breath I take, every word I write, every dream I dare to chase. You are the thread, in the fabric of my being, the calm in my chaos, the moonlight between us, and when the world grows quiet, and all the noise has faded, I will still hear your voice, steady, strong, and sure, calling me home, always.